The best-selling Mortal Kombat game might surprise you. It's not one of the classic games, despite them being 30 years old at this point. So is it one of the 3D era games? Those were huge back in the day, and released during a time when most other fighting games were dead. So did they sell the most copies? Nope. Believe it or not, the best-selling Mortal Kombat game was Mortal Kombat 11. That's right, the game with Ronda Rousey as Sonya.
Seriously?
Yeah, despite the mixed reception among players, this game sold crazy well. In fact, it's one of the best-selling fighting games to ever exist. Don't believe me? It's literally number 4, right after Smash Bros. And Street Fighter 2. Yeah, Street Fighter 2, the oldest fighting game ever, and many players don't consider Smash Bros. A standard fighting game. I don't feel that way personally, but I'm just saying take Smash Bros. Off the list and Mortal Kombat 11 is number 2, the second best-selling fighting game ever. But if we're being literal, it's number 4, right after Smash Bros. And Street Fighter 2. Mortal Kombat 11 is up there with these giants. So what the heck happened with this game? Why did it sell so phenomenally well? I really want to get to the bottom of this. It's a very interesting topic and also not depressing like my past videos have been. Not to mention, Conan's not doing anything interesting. Despite releasing in about 10 days, we've seen no new trailers or gameplay. So yeah, let's discuss how Mortal Kombat 11 became one of the best-selling fighting games of all time. Mortal Kombat 11 looks incredible and has amazing presentation. The graphics for this game were way ahead of their time, especially the particle effects. Just look how good the fire effects are around Scorpion, it's incredible. But it's not just the gameplay that looks good, every aspect about this game wanted to flex on you. Each character in the game had different intro animations and outro animations to dazzle your eyeballs with. And then we have the crushing blows that show the skeletons and muscle fibers of the character being torn and ripped apart and just broken all over the place. It's a technical marvel for its time. To some of you watching, this game might not look impressive now, but keep in mind it came out in 2019. Once again, it feels like the developers are flexing on us, because you normally never get to see fighting game characters up close, but in Mortal Kombat 11, they shoved those characters right in your face, so you really get to admire the detail on these fighters. Just look at how detailed the skin textures are. Now, of course, gameplay is always the most important aspect of a fighting game, but Mortal Kombat 11 looking this good ensured that anyone who even glanced at the gameplay would get interested. So you can't overlook how important graphics can be on a game's success. And trust me, sometimes a great game can be overlooked for having subpar graphics. Just look at King of Fighters 14. That game was incredibly fun to play, but the graphics were a turnoff for many players, especially since the previous game had perfect pixel graphics, but then the sequel went full polygons and looked like this. Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 made sure that never happened by making their graphics look stunning. Mortal Kombat 11 simplified the gameplay a lot from past games. Instead of learning long combos to get crazy damage, players could use the new crushing blow mechanic to get easy damage instead. And I mean really easy damage. Just 2 throws alone could deal 50% damage, and I'm not even joking. Most of these crushing blows were really easy to do. Sure, there were some exceptions that were difficult and had specific requirements, but for the most part, these crushing blows were easy. A majority of them were counter hits or punishes, which could actually happen by accident, which is why many casual players would mash uppercut and abuse throws all the time, and I'm not joking. It was an easy way to get damage with basically no effort. But then we have the fatal blows, which were equally ridiculous and brand new to Mortal Kombat 11. And unlike in Mortal Kombat 1, there was no screen freeze, which meant that players could pop fatal blow at random times, and it actually worked. In fact, plenty of these fatal blows were unreactable, and I mean that literally. For example, Aaron Black's fatal blow went full screen and was 10 frames on startup. For anyone not aware, the game runs at 60 frames per second, which means that 10 frames is 1/6 of a second. So yeah, I wasn't exaggerating when I said they're unreactable. And just like crushing blows, these fatal blows did a lot of damage, around 35% minimum. And unlike in the previous game, Mortal Kombat X, you did not need to save meter for the fatal blow. You got this bad boy for free as long as you were low on health. That's right, you got fatal blow for getting your butt kicked. Quite literally, and if you missed the fatal blow, no big deal, it came back in like 5 seconds. That's right, if you popped fatal blow at random and missed the opponent, just survive for 5 more seconds and you get another chance. But then on top of all of this, fatal blows had armor too. That's right, which meant if you did any attack at all, the fatal blow would win. Once your opponent had fatal blow, any button you pressed could be countered by their fatal blow and just kill you, and they're unreactable, near instant, and do tons of damage. Yeah, yeah, this new mechanic was extremely cheap. Now thankfully, NetherRealm did nerf it later on, many months later, but even after the nerfs, Fatal Blow was considered quite cheap. Now if you thought all that was crazy though, wait until I talk about the meter. It refills on its own. That's right, the opponent no longer had to do anything to get meter in Mortal Kombat 11. It refilled on its own automatically. Or in other words, if you ran out of meter, you could just run away and lame out the opponent and the meter would refill on its own. And when you add all these factors together, it's understandable how Mortal Kombat 11 was very friendly to casual players, which I think is one more big reason the game sold so well. Because normally fighting games are very intimidating to newcomers, but not Mortal Kombat 11 because it gave beginners a ton of tools, which very likely did help it sell better. Because at the end of the day, most gamers are casual players. No matter how much diehard gamers want to deny this, it's just the truth. Most players are casual, which is the main reason why modern fighting games are adding auto combos, simple controls, and stuff of that nature. These developers are aware that sales go up when you make the gameplay a bit easier for newcomers, and Mortal Kombat 11 was doing something similar with its gameplay. It gave casual players a ton of ways to win the match without having to memorize long combos or worry about too many extra factors like that. Now don't get me wrong, there were plenty of diehard Mortal Kombat fans that hated the new gameplay, or at least several aspects of it. Honestly, even I don't prefer how Mortal Kombat 11 played compared to the past Mortal Kombat games, or even Mortal Kombat 1. But even so, I think it's clear that tons of players did love these new mechanics, since it allowed them to win matches without having to devote hours to training mode. Mortal Kombat 11 was definitely riding the hype train of Mortal Kombat X. To this day, that game is beloved by basically everyone. I don't think I've ever seen a comment claim that Mortal Kombat X is the worst game in the series, or anything like that, which has happened for the other recent games, including Mortal Kombat 11. But at the time, before Mortal Kombat was released, players were still riding that Mortal Kombat X high. And that definitely could be a big reason why Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well, which is very ironic considering how differently Mortal Kombat 11 played from past games. It definitely does not play anything like Mortal Kombat X, but I think that was intentional, for better or worse. It seems like NetherRealm wants every Mortal Kombat game to feel different. Maybe that's their own way of ensuring that the sequels don't completely replace the previous games, or maybe they want each game to have an identity of its own. I can't really say for sure. But what I am sure about is Mortal Kombat 11 sold better due to all the hype from Mortal Kombat X. Because don't forget, we also had the Injustice games in between, which meant it had been at least 3 or 5 years since the Mortal Kombat game had come out. So since it had been so long since players had a new Mortal Kombat game, they had an itch that needed scratching, and Mortal Kombat 11 filled that role. Part of me wonders if other fighting games could benefit from this process, like maybe Capcom could release a Darkstalkers sequel instead of Street Fighter 7, because not only would it be really cool to get a Darkstalkers sequel, but it would also get people more excited for the next Street Fighter game, because it would be a couple of years before they got it. In other words, you're building anticipation towards the next Street Fighter game because it's been gone for a bit. I'm wondering if that could work for other games like it did for Mortal Kombat 11. I wanted to talk a bit about 2019 because basically everybody in the world was stuck inside, and as a result, they spent more money on video games and other home entertainment stuff. You can look this up if you want to. Virtual entertainment had a huge boom during this time. For example, streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus had a huge surge during lockdown, and that's because people spent way more money on this stuff during lockdown. And I'm wondering if that had an effect on Mortal Kombat 11. Yes, the game did release before the lockdown happened, but the game was nowhere near old when the lockdown happened. It was still new and interesting. And it has me wondering if tons of people did buy the game during lockdown because they were stuck at home and thought, yeah, I'll give it a try. I don't know, it seems like a logical theory to me. I'm not sure how much it impacted sales, but I bet it helped to some extent. Because again, tons of games sold better during this period because people were stuck at home and needed more entertainment. Mortal Kombat 11 had great timing. It came out when everybody already had a PS4, or rather, everyone had the latest generation of consoles, and this likely did help boost its sales. Part of me wonders if Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6 would have sold better if they released a year or two later, when everyone already owned a next generation console. I think it's definitely possible, but thankfully Mortal Kombat 11 didn't have to worry about that, since it released near the end of a console generation. So like mentioned earlier, nearly every gamer already owned the those consoles. But of course, I don't think that's the main reason Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well. It's just one of many factors. Alright everyone, and there you have it, all the reasons I can think of why Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well. Like mentioned earlier, it's one of the best-selling games in the history of ever, and I just find that really interesting and also quite crazy. Because Mortal Kombat 11 was divisive, a lot of players hated the big change to gameplay, they didn't like the story mode, there were tons of things that people did not like about this game. And yet, even so, the numbers don't lie, this was the most popular Mortal Kombat game to ever exist. And honestly, it might stay that way. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Why do you think Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well? Did I miss any big reasons why? Thank you so much for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like down below, it helps the channel out a ton. And if you haven't already, finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.